second. Up here, there is a setting. Settings. You notice we used to have this on the side, then it was which dialog and all that, so we have it all now here. See, we're hiding the origin right now, so if I bring in the origin, it'll show it, hopefully. And then even the other interesting thing is, I don't know if any of you know about the grid. We have a grid option. I think it started, a lot of them used to start with that, where you can have an actual grid. So if I close that, now you notice it shows that's a grid at 0, and you can make, let's just go back and make that a, let's say instead of increment, let's make this 50. You see now, if you ever wanted to scale, you have a scale, but you see it shows you here's your origin, and then you go up above or whatever you want to do, and there's a scale. And then the other thing you can do with that scale and or the origin is you can make that scale at an elevation. Like I can make that at an elevation of 10 feet below. So that, let's see, I guess I want to put it at -10. But just for your own scaling purposes when you're doing a diagram, or if you're, you know, how far off am I, instead of having to kind of guess, you can put this in there as, let's make this at -10 or -20. Should put it down below. Whoops, I guess I put it way too far below. Yeah, there it is. Let's make that different. I guess we were near 0, so let's make that at -5 or -2. So that way it's kind of in, you know, so you're in the same plane as the, when you can go to the overhead here. Oops. See, now we have a scale that can say, okay, well, how far, there's the origin, the X and Y. And I don't know, for some reason on this particular case, we're going down the negative X axis. And well, we can actually tell down here, you notice that the vehicle positions show that it's at going minus. Oh, it says X. Oh, okay. So wait, this is the X is the red, and the Y is coming towards us. That'll how you notice down here that it shows you the velocity U, V, and W, and then the X, Y, Z, and then the yaw, pitch, and roll of the vehicles. So we're going up the X-axis and plus Y-axis. So that's why we're. No, why would that say plus Y? Well, I'll have to check on that. But that is the way you turn on your axis, as your question was. Because with this, you can hide it or have it on. Sometimes when you're doing videos, you don't want that to show. And then this, oh yeah, I guess this other thing, the grid can be a Y grid. So you see, you can have it like that, and obviously you'd want to make it a increment of 5 feet, let's say. You have a Y grid. Oops, let's go back to our scene. Or it can be an X grid. Now there is a bit of confusion, and we still haven't decided how best to handle this. The X and Y in SMAC and H3OSM, it's aeronautical, meaning that X is forward, Y is to the right, and Z is towards the ground. In graphics, it's Y up the screen, X across the screen, and Z towards you. So it's really the inverse of the axis for the simulation. And so for the present time, we kind of have it a little bit of a confusion in there, but you will obviously be able to handle or see that there's the differences, and I think we have that explained in the help manual. But that's, you know, it's not really confusing. It's just that we haven't transformed everything. In some points, you may see, well, the negative is positive for X or Y. So I would just keep that in mind when you're moving things around. The other options that can be set here are, like I say, you know, if you want to hide the logo, then we can hide that grid, and then we can hide the scene. I think there's also, if you have a ground image, if you're bringing in a ground image, I think I set mine. I think the default is 4,000 pixels. But if you have a problem with something coming in, you can go to this scene, again, up here to the settings, and you can set the ground to a higher. I have mine at 11,000. Then the next question is, there's a general, that's just for what kind of images on the top here. There's a light if you need to change the lighting by horizontal, etc. And I believe they change now real time. Let's see if it changes. No, it must be that it, well, there's a little bit there change, but maybe because of all this, but I believe that's supposed to be real time, or it will be. And then some on the help files, we used to have them in a special window that we brought up, but they keep changing it. Google and Microsoft keep changing the calling sequence, so it was causing some of you to have problems. That's why now we have the show in the default browser instead of a pop-up window, because sometimes a pop-up window, that's the default now for it. You can try the pop-up window, and I think it would work on mine, but no point in me trying to find that out now. But again, let me turn off, hide this, hide that, and say OK.